Hello everybody, Tiffany Solorio here for Create with Prima. Really quickly, before I get into all of the steps for the project, I wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody who has supported Create with Prima. This is my last video for Create with Prima. I am a bit sad, but every good thing must come to an end, I guess. You can definitely still see my personal videos over on my YouTube channel. I will continue to create those. Between doing the live shows when it was live with Prima and then on the design team and then now the Create with Prima videos, it has been an amazing couple years. I think it actually might be 2.5 years, I think. Anyways, I did just want to come on really quickly and say thank you to everybody who has supported Create with Prima and watched the videos and over on the Facebook group and all of that fun stuff. It's been amazing. I will definitely still be around. So with that out of the way, I am creating a altered embroidery hoop with an altered heart. So I asked on Facebook or Instagram, I can't remember exactly which one now, but I had asked what you guys wanted to see, and somebody had mentioned a altered embroidery hoop, and then someone said with a altered heart. So I sat there and this is what I came up with, and I used some of the Wild and Free collection for the paper. It doesn't even really matter which paper you use in the back. I believe the embroidery hoop is probably 7 inches, and I just traced out the paper, and then now I'm adding some white gesso, and then this paper mache heart is actually a top to a paper mache box you can find at any craft store. And I'm just going to paint it with some gesso, and then I will add some crackle paste. Alright, so I wanted to prep all of my metal pieces, and so I have this metal embellishment here. I love these. They just, when you add the gesso and then you add the spray to them, the detail is just amazing. So this is a Prima or a Finnabair mechanical heart locket or watch, I think it's called. And I'm just painting it with some white gesso. And you could see here that I'm kind of loosely layering things together just to kind of see how they're gonna go together and if I'm gonna like it. I did place some chipboard in the back. It's just some chipboard that I had in my stash. And I do this technique a lot where I take some gesso and I heat the gesso as I'm painting. That way it makes the gesso a little bit tacky, and then it adheres to whatever surface you're wanting. In this case, I really needed it to adhere really nicely to the metal. And now I'm just going to add the paper mache, and I did choose a larger one. I did paint the smaller one, but then I ended up choosing the larger one to add to the actual project. And then I'm going to add that metal piece, and then I'm going to add the heart on top of that. And I'm trying to make it so that it's very sturdy, because I didn't really want to add anything underneath because you would be able to see it. And now I'm just taking some Finnabair like rustic gears and different metal pieces from her collections and painting them with some white gesso. And I was trying to kind of come up with a cool little mechanical heart type thing. I don't know how to explain it that well, but I think in the picture in the beginning you kind of probably got what I was going for. And I think it looks really cool just to add all of those gears and all of those metal pieces here and there. And I'm just going to continue to layer those, and I play around with them a little bit just to see where I want them and I love using Fabri-Tac because I am able to do that, and it holds the metal pieces really well too. So I'm just adding those there and changing my mind a little bit. And then I'm going to add a little bit more metal pieces. These are junkyard findings, I believe, and then some other little metal pieces, probably from Finnabair. And that's a little heart, rustic heart, and then some other little random metal pieces. I will have all of the supplies listed down below, so I can't remember the exact names for everything, so it's a little bit hard to do that, but I always have all of the supplies listed down below. So again, I'm just taking the heat tool and using the gesso to cover everything up. And as you saw, I had used pink to begin with, and I didn't like it, so now I'm covering it up with some soft teal color bloom spray, and I just do an overall teal, and it's not all the way covered up from the pink. You could still see the pink showing through, but I knew I was going to add a little bit darker colors, so I wasn't too worried at this point. This one is the Dragonfly blue, which is one of my favorites. It's super gorgeous. And I love how it just gets in all of those cracks, and I did add some crackle paste here and there as well, so I don't think I mentioned that before. But I add it to the sides of the embroidery hoop and then on the inside of that heart. Just, I really wanted a lot of depth to this project, so I'm adding a lot, and then I will go in and highlight some of those areas. And now I am using Precious Stone Color Bloom Spray to add even more depth. If you have watched me for a while, you know that I do this often. I'll just add layers of colors to add more depth and dimension and interest to my projects. So I like to take the nozzle and add a little bit here and there. That way I have a little bit more control of where I am putting that color, and it works really well. And I can, you know, again, control more where I am putting that color instead of spraying it and then it getting somewhere where I didn't really want it. All right, so that is all dry, and then now I'm going in with some gesso and doing that same technique. I am heating the gesso as I am dry brushing it on, and I'm lightly brushing on the gesso to highlight all of those textures and all of those details and all of the embellishments and on the project. And while I am adding the gesso, I'm heating it up again so that it makes it a little bit tacky, and it's a little bit easier and it applies a little bit thicker, so you don't have to apply so many layers. And I'm just going to be doing this all over the project. And at this point you can see all of the different details in the different embellishments, and you know, honestly, I say this all the time, you can use anything you want. You can use fabric, you can use cardboard, anything that you think that you can use to create that texture, and that's all you're really going for is just lots of different textures, and so it adds a lot of interest to your project. So at this point I really wanted some more depth to the project, so I'm going in with a paintbrush and just adding some of that precious stone. The precious stone is basically black. It has a little bit of like gold and I think a little bit of green mica in it, but I don't shake it up or anything. I just basically use the color, so I'm not trying to get any of that mica on there. And I am just going in again and just adding all of that color where I feel I want more depth to the project. and I'm going in kind of behind that large heart so that it helps it kind of stand out a little bit. And I felt it needed a little bit of something else, so I decided to go in with the Lime Wedge Color Bloom spray. And again, I am just going in and taking that nozzle, adding a little bit of color here and there, and then I'll go in with my finger and I'll just kind of pounce it around and mix it together. And I felt it was just the perfect little touch, just to add a little bit more interest and a little bit of different color to the project. Alright, so after all of the color has dried, I am going in again and adding more gesso, and this is just going to highlight all of those textures and details in all of the embellishments that I've added. Alright, so now I'm going in with some Bronze Age Art Alchemy wax, and this is just going to give the project even more interest. And for this color, I'm just kind of going in underneath that large heart, and that was the Bronze Age. I can't remember if I said that. Now I'm going in with a little bit of the Vintage Silk Art Alchemy wax. This one is my favorite. I use it all the time. It's gorgeous and it just highlights perfectly, and it makes that stark white gesso just a little bit creamy, and so it's not, you know, super white. You definitely can skip this if you don't have the Art Alchemy wax, or you want that white color instead of a little bit more creamy color. But for this, I wanted it a little bit, I didn't want it as white as it was. So that's why I'm adding the Vintage Silk, and I just kind of dry brush it on a little bit here and there. And I'm going to go in and mix the Bronze Age with the Vintage Silk color just to, again, add more interest to the project. And I think that's basically going to complete this project. This is, again, my last project for Create with Prima, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. You can definitely connect with myself and everybody else over on the Create with Prima Facebook group. It is a wonderful community. People share so many gorgeous projects. And if you ever make a project inspired by one of mine or any other project here on the Prima YouTube channel, be sure to tag us. And I know I love to see everybody's projects So be sure to tag me on Instagram or on Facebook. Again, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Bye.